I have actually been looking so hard, and I'll get into this in a few minutes, for some really good, deep answer to the problem of evil. Because again, I mean, the problem of evil typically is God is all good, knowing, and loving. So, you know, if there's evil in the world, why didn't he know about it? Why doesn't he want to do anything about it, or is he just not able to? Yeah. Nobody wants to admit that he cannot do one of those three things, so something's wrong.
Yeah, if God's all-powerful, there's nothing he cannot do.
He knows about it, he wants to prevent it, and he's able to. So why are there bad things in the world? That's the basic argument. Christians usually come back with a couple different things. Free will.
Right.
As in, I can, you know, some criminal can go out there, and if he wants to rob banks, then, you know, that's his free will to choose those things. And if he chooses wrong, then, then he gets punished.
Yeah, God doesn't want to make us all a bunch of mindless automaton robots.
Exactly. And that's
just doing his will.
And that is, even on something that specific as in a bank robber, you know, or someone who wants to do drugs or something like that. You know, I can almost kind of sort of see it, but not really. Because again, if your kids want to do drugs, do you say they have free will?
No.
No, because you know that's going to hurt them. Yeah. Now, if God loves his children, even the bank robbers, why doesn't he stop them? Why doesn't he stop these people from hurting themselves, even somebody else? And again, that throws out the whole thing about earthquakes.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, the appeal to free will really collapses. And that is with this whole little troublesome issue of innocent victims.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay? Here's the thing. Well, because we talk about, like, okay, let's look at this thing that happened in Florida last week. A scumbag kidnapped that little girl right in front of the security camera.
Yeah.
You know, took her off, you know, killed her stone dead in a church parking lot, by the way. You know, kind of strange. Absolutely awful, you know, just inexcusable, unforgivable event, right? You know, I'd flip the switch myself. Yeah. Okay? And not look back. Okay, but like you use an example like that as a great example of the problem of evil.
Yeah.
And a Christian who attempts to use the appeal to free will in that example is forgetting something. Okay?
Just a little tiny factor.
The little girl presumably had free will.
Yes.
Okay. Whose free will counts here?
Yeah.
Okay. You have the villain, right? The attacker, you know, the murderer, and his free will is telling him, I want to do this horrible thing to this kid.
Yeah.
Here you've got the kid saying, my free will says I don't want this to happen to me. Now, whose is more important?
Apparently.
So if you're saying that God is like just standing back, casually observing this, you know, whistling to himself, not interfering because he doesn't want to interfere with free will.
Yeah.
Well, wait a minute. Whose free will is he not wanting to interfere with? You know? Yeah. I mean, it's not... whose free will is he favoring?
Yeah. Can we then say that police are more moral than God because they would at least try and stop this?
Yeah. Or just any bystander standing on the street.
Exactly.
If this were happening to you, and you're like, you know, laying there being victimized, and then you looked over and saw somebody cross the street just standing there watching.
Yeah.
What would you think of that person?
Yeah. And they're just saying, I'm sorry, I don't want to interfere.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's doing what he wants to do.
None of my business. Yeah. I can't interfere with people's free will. That would make them a robot.
Yeah.
So they're forgetting a little thing. The victim has free will too.
Yeah.
So if God is not interfering with these horrible crimes because he doesn't want to interfere with free will, sounds to me like he is favoring the bad guy's free will over that of the victim, and I have a hard time with a God like that.
Yeah.
So that's where the free will thing collapses, is this whole little problem of innocent victims. If it were just God leaves you free to do stupid stuff, okay, and then you're the one who gets hurt, and the only one who gets hurt doing your stupid thing, and then God can go, see? It's like,
but
okay,
even that,
okay, God, I learned my lesson.
Even that I don't agree with. Because again, if you have a child, you know, there are certain things that we allow them to learn through hardship because we know that it's not real hardship and because they'll learn well from it. And it's a lesson that we would have a hard time teaching. For instance, studying. Yeah. No kid really wants to go up to their room and study for 3 hours for their tests.
Right.
But it's going to teach them good things. You can't just, you know, plug them into their USB cable on the computer, upload the knowledge in 3 minutes, and have it over with.
Oh, what a joy that day will be when that comes.
Exactly. They've got to work for it.
Yeah.
And you know that they're not really going to go through any hardship. And so let them go through this pain, which you don't like seeing. You don't like telling your kids, no, you're going to study for your test, damn it. Yeah. You don't like doing that, but you do. Because you can't give them the knowledge, and it's not really going to hurt them. However, if there's something that you can prevent, That's something simple, like studying for a test that no kid wants to do. If a kid walks over to a light socket with a fork,
yeah, all right.
You stop them because it's really going to frickin' hurt.
Yeah, it's really cool.
And it's really going to mess them up.
Yeah.
And you don't want that to happen to them. It's something you can prevent. It's something that's really going to hurt them. You stop them and you tell them, look, that's really bad idea.
Yeah.
Now, God is all-powerful and all-knowing. He can do anything he wants. If he doesn't want you to study for a test, he can just give you the knowledge. So apparently, there is some reason that he is not doing this. And that's the only explanation. Is that he's just
free will.
Is that he's just a prick.
So, yeah. Or that,
he can prevent any hardship he wants.
Or maybe that he doesn't exist. Okay, that would be...
That's... Wow, never thought of that.
And this is amazing to me, because it's an example of argument by declaration. I was on a message board one time, and one Christian came up, and in all serious, he said, no, problem of evil is not inconsistent at all, and I'll show you why. And he goes, and he used like an example like the one I just used, right? Like some child being raped. Yeah. He says, God has a morally sufficient reason for allowing that to happen.
Yes.
And that's it. And I'm like, sorry to dip my little fly in your ointment here, but what is this morally sufficient reason? I don't know if like I told this guy, I don't know if you realize this, but you have just stated that there is such a thing as a moral justification for raping kids.
Yeah.
Now you have to present that. You have to tell me what that is.
Yeah. And I really want to hear about it.
Yeah, because I submit to you that there is no such thing as a morally sufficient reason for allowing a crime like that to happen.
Yeah.
Now, if you're saying there is, and it's okay with your God, you have to tell me what that is.
Yeah.
And I got a bunch of indignation in reply, but never really an answer.
Well, that is very similar to the other argument, as in, there's a good reason that we let this happen, and they will.
But it's not for us to question.
They will
who
learn
are you to
from
question?
this experience, and yes, who are we to question an infinitely knowledgeable being?
I really don't know what this dead girl in Florida is learning from her experience.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's just not a whole lot.
Yeah.
So, and anybody who would use the appalling excuse that, like, well, she's in heaven with Jesus now. It's like, oh, okay, well, then why don't we just make this crime legal and set all these predators on to kill all our kids so they can be with Jesus quicker.
Lots of kids up to heaven and go to Jesus.
Yeah, that's no excuse. But so anyway, so if what you're basically saying is that you have for the longest time been looking for an argument to an argument against the problem of evil that works.
Yeah.
Well, atheists have been looking for such an argument for years and years.
Long time.
For centuries and long time. But who knows? Maybe if someone calls us today, maybe they'll have one.
Yeah.
A doozy for us. But you talked about earthquakes. You brought that up.
Yes.
How the problem of evil doesn't. I mean, all of the responses to the problem of evil don't even begin to address natural evils.
Exactly.
Like earthquake, typhoons, and tornadoes. I actually heard an hilarious.
I think you told me this one.
Yeah, where it's a guy named I think his name is Hugh Ross. I might have the first name wrong. But this Hugh Ross is a perfect example of a really really smart man who has just through the filter of his religious beliefs, reached wrong conclusions about how to apply science to religion. But his answer to he was on a TBN show one time and they talked about how God uses earthquakes because he has to, because that's how he can shift minerals around the Earth's crust. He said this, something to this effect. In all seriousness, I'm like, okay, so your all-powerful universe-creating invisible friend cannot come up with a way of shifting minerals in the Earth's crust that doesn't lead to like some massive natural disaster that can kill thousands of people. Okay, they don't understand the whole concept of omnipotent, right?
He can do anything.
He could just move those molecules around and, a gnat wouldn't feel it if he wanted to.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what it means to be omnipotent. So it's just really funny, just the contortions and the really, really lousy arguments that just how far they'll reach to get to there.
Yeah.